Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and these are such exciting times, not just for the Arts Council, for all of Watauga County. We've got some great stuff coming up. We have our grand opening of the Blue Ridge Art Space, and we are so excited. It has been a long road and a lot of workers that have done a lot of labor renovating that building, painting it, stripping wallpaper, doing all kinds of cool things. And what we're going to have inside it? Well, inside it we'll have 4 wonderful galleries. We'll have our gift shop. We'll have 6 classrooms where you can come and learn all kinds of arts activities, everything from crafts to visual arts to music to who knows what else. We've got someone teaching someone how to publish a book. We've got people teaching stuff about how to frame your artwork. People talking about how to improve yourself as an artist in terms of financial management or something like that, or marketing, or so many things coming down the pike in that particular space. We'll have concerts, we'll have events, we'll have activities of all sorts. It's just going to be wonderful. And we're going to launch it with the 4 first exhibits of the Blue Ridge Art Space are going to be available for you to see at the grand opening, which is coming up on June the 8th at 5:30, and you don't want to miss this. You want to be there. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. That's a Saturday, June the 8th. Now, the Serendipity Gallery has never had a piece of artwork hung in it before. But coming up in a couple of days, we're hanging the work of Jean Stillwell. Jean is launching the Serendipity Gallery for us.
That's very exciting.
That's a pretty exciting thing.
Yeah, it is.
Jean, you're part of Marcia Holmes's classes. That's how we connected with you.
Absolutely.
And so tell me about you. Jean is a really classic example of the folks that work with the Serendipity Gallery, the senior adult artists who have taken classes, most of them through Marcia Holmes's classes at the Lois Harrell or Cove Creek Centers. And you're at which center?
Lois Harrell.
Lois Harrell. And so you are a classic example because that you began really seriously painting after you'd retired.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So tell me that story.
Well, I guess we weren't planning to do anything, and I had some spare time, which I hadn't had until retirement. So, and I've always enjoyed art, whether I'm looking at it or doing it myself. But of course, I had little time to do it myself.
Right.
And then one day I said, well, I think I will pick up some watercolor painting. So
looks like fun.
Yeah, it looks like fun. Looks very easy, just, and you got a nice painting, but not so. You need lots of lessons.
Watercolor's a difficult medium.
Yeah, it is one of the more difficult ones. I learned. I'm still struggling.
Well, you've learned very, very well, I have to tell you.
Well, thank you. I'm enjoying it very much. Marcia has been just wonderful. She's just fun to be with, but she knows so much, and she's such a good teacher. So I, can't say enough for Marcia, and she's introduced me and helped me. I started with watercolors and did lots of workshops with Cheap Joe's and excuse me, but. It was Marcia that helped me when I decided I wanted to paint and have the whites painted on last. In watercolor you have to paint your white, save your whites.
That's your paper.
Yes, your paper. And I so many times missed that. And so I thought, I've got to learn acrylic so I can
I can do it later.
Yeah, so I can worry about that later. So she helped me get started with that. And then she also helped me with the graphite and the charcoal, with the drawing part.
So you've just explored. Now, did you ever have an arts? Did you dabble in the arts before?
A little bit. I mean, in high school, I took what do you call it? A perspective class.
Yeah.
And then I took when I was working in New York at Macy's, I took an evening class at NYU. It was a sketching class or a drawing class. But that was all I ever did. No, there was just no time.
Well, that's the thing. Being an artist actually is a time-consuming task.
Right, and it's also being around where there is art available, where there are supplies, and just being around the culture.
That's why Boone's so great.
I know it. It is. It is.
So
it just sort of rubs on you.
That's wonderful. I should say Watauga County because it's not all in Boone.
Right.
It is all over the community.
Absolutely.
That's very, very special.
Yeah, it is to me. It's terribly special. Yeah.
Well, and I know that artists feed off one another. You know, the energy level.
That is so important. It's hard to do that alone. You know, I can't describe it now. We spend some of our winters now that we've retired in Mexico, and I already have my little group in Mexico that I paint with, and if it weren't for them, you just need. They critique your work, they help you, or they say, "Oh, that's great," or you know,
or they inspire you.
They inspire. Oh, that's a neat idea. I'll try that. You know, so so.
And each artist takes the idea and does it their own way. Yeah. I've watched where that. I know Marcia has 2 painting buddies that she paints with.
Absolutely.
And they have done exhibits where they had the same subject interpreted by each one of them their own way, and it's astounding.
No 2 people ever paint the same. Yeah, I remember Joe Miller telling me, "Jean, you can't copy that. You just have to do it your own way."
Exactly.
Which kind of reminds me, this one painting that I have in the show in the Serendipity Gallery next week. And it's Van Gogh's Cafe Terrace. And Marcia had us do paintings that we mimicked the masters, and I picked this particular painting. And you appreciate, after copying, the work of these masters.
It's such a learning experience.
Oh, wow. It's just incredible. Yeah. The brush strokes and just the whole thing.
There's nothing wrong with copying a work for the purpose of learning.
Right.
I think that's a very, very special task that you can really get an enormous amount out of.
Exactly.
And I remember that show when they did that show at our Serendipity Gallery, in our little gallery that we had on King Street. And I was pretty astounded at the how well that people did with that particular assignment. It was very well done.
Exactly. There's a lot of talent in our little class.
There really is. There really
Wonderful
is.
painters and artists. Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're looking at your work now. We've got behind us one of her watercolors, which is where we'll land in a minute. Right here is an acrylic. This is one of your add the white on top pictures, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Put that fog in last.
Now, do you like acrylic?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm taking a workshop next week
with
the
direction for you.
Yes, yeah.
Here's something else. Now, you mentioned the drawing and the charcoal. This is charcoal and graphite, right?
That's correct.
And this is from a photograph you took?
Actually, my husband Dan took it.
And so you've interpreted that in your own way.
Absolutely, yes. And it was just fun to work with the shading and learning that with charcoal you can take away and make your whites with an eraser. It's very easy and it's a lot of fun. I guarantee everybody should try it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I do think your niche, at least at this point in time, and artists tend to have something that they'll settle in for a while, and then after a while they want to move to something new. So we'll see where Jean goes after this. But I love what she's done. This is a journal. And most of us, when we go on trips, we'll take photographs. And we'll use those photographs to talk about our trip or to remember our trip and so forth. Some people write in their journals. Not Jean. Jean does the most beautiful journals I think I've ever seen. And this is so cool because you've got the name of where you were and or a name for it, and then the location of where you were, and then the date that you were there. So it's a great way to remember where you've been and how you've traveled. And I know you have a story behind every single one of these, right?
Yeah, right. Well, they're all meaningful.
Well, and you and I were talking a while ago that when you sit and you look at it long enough to do this.
Yes. You really remember it. You implant it on your brain, and it's a memory that you always have.
Well, Jean, I really think you've got a future ahead of you. This is absolutely phenomenal. You do great work. I'm very impressed.
Well, thank you. It's fun. It's definitely just a good thing. And since my husband and I, Dan and I, we travel a lot, this is one way of recording our travels.
This is a beautiful way, and I know that this is going to become an heirloom, that will be passed on.
I hope so.
Absolutely. What amazes me is there's no mistakes in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Not true.
Not that I see. So,
Right.
Well, now talk to me about your process, because your paintings, as I see a lot of watercolor, and some of it almost looks like acrylic. It's very heavily applied.
Right,
Some of it is different styles, different techniques. Yours is about the airiest I've seen.
Yeah, right. Well, it's a matter with watercolors. It's the amount of water that
And you like water.
Yes. Well, here I do. It's just when you travel, and it's just you have a little kit that you use to paint from, and it's just easy to dab your brush a little bit into the paint and into the water. There is one painting in the exhibit that it looks like acrylics. It's a pear on the table, and
it's watercolor.
It is watercolor, but it's watercolor paint that came right out of the tube, just about.
Yeah.
And hardly any water at all.
Right.
So I still have to make sure it has a glass cover over it because it can't get wet.
Yes. But some of these are very, very loose, very loose.
Right.
Do you put the paint down first?
Oh, no. No. And I draw with the pen, and if I make a mistake, it's just too bad. It's just fun to draw, and to me, when you paint draw with the ink, you have to be more definite about where that line goes. So
you have to think about it.
Yeah. So
you don't pencil it.
No pencil. No. And then I color afterwards. It is sort of like a coloring book.
And you and you're very loose about how the color goes on.
Yes,
it's
right.
not very precise inside the line.
No,
it just kind of flows.
Exactly.
This, to some degree, reminds me a little bit of Joe's work.
Oh, really?
It really does. Because there's a certain characteristic that's similar to some of his.
This particular style I can accredit to Don Getz, who taught. I took his class at
Maybe
Cheap
Joe
Joe's.
did too.
Yeah. Well, he probably has. He's probably painted, gone out with Don. And Don's Cheap Joe is sponsoring a tour that Don is doing of the United States right now, and he's got a blog.
I didn't know that.
He's got a blog, and his work is like this, except far superior. He's really quite clever.
How fantastic!
But the class from him, I hadn't drawn in years, and the first day we went out, and this is plein air painting, of course, and we went out, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't drawn," and I had to draw something, And it was that we went in the parking lot of Mass Store out in Valley Cruces, and I have that book that I did the first day. It was page 1 of this very same journal, and this is the journals that Don gets. These are, by the way, Cheap Joe's journals.
These are great.
And Don did it, and
paper.
and I on the bottom of it I wrote, "I can't believe I've done this." But anyway.
So you do rip out some occasionally?
No, I refuse to rip them out.
Okay, so whether it's good or bad, it's there.
It's there, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
well, it wouldn't be easy to rip these out anyways.
It would. I think I did it once, and it's actually one of the paintings that's in this exhibit that I
doubt that's original.
I was sitting in the living room one day, and I thought, I think I'm going to draw that table and chair. So I painted it, and I kind of like that, so I framed it, and so I've had it in my hallway.
Now you're going to have some journals available for people to thumb through at the
Yeah.
exhibit, right? That will be great, because you don't take them all out and frame them. Some of them
No,
so
right.
that is neat.
Yeah.
Now, how long does it take you to do your average painting? I know it varies.
Yeah, right. It depends upon, of course, how complicated the scene is. I probably spend an hour or maybe an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not actually
something
a whole
like
lot of time, So,
right.
Yeah.
But something like this, this is, by the way, the Bay of Fundy, where the tide comes in and goes way out,
Right.
And so this is the huge beach that they have, and it's going out, way, way out.
Okay.
And so that was kind of easy to draw. It's just a beach.
And everybody's sitting out there going, "Says you."
This is more complicated and takes more time. This is part of the bay, near the Bay of Fundy in New Brunswick, and we were driving around, and the boats were on sand there. And when we came back, the boats were way up high up here within just a couple of hours.
Wow. Okay.
So.
You know, that's one thing I like. Now, we were talking earlier about this particular piece.
Yes.
As an example. This is the story behind this is that you were camping?
Yes, this is our motorhome here, and we were up in, let's see, that's in Nova Scotia, and it's the hurricane that came by North Carolina, and we said, oh, great, we're missing it. But what happened is we managed to meet it up in Nova Scotia. And it caused some damage, and we had some damage with our awning on our motorhome.
At Walmart,
but we were camping at Walmart. In Canada, you don't get permission to camp at Walmart. But they made an exception for us, and that's all I got to paint because we had to move on.
Everything else is black and white.
Yes.
I think that's neat, though, that you have stories behind all of these. You're going to have to do some writing, some journaling.
Right. Well, I do that with some of my smaller journals where I write and I draw smaller pictures with the words around it or whatever.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to see some of that.
This particular scene here is the view from our porch in Mexico. And this is the Bay of Banderas right here. And we're looking over the roof.
And while we're all in the snow, that's what she's looking at. So, well, Jean, I'm so much looking forward to this exhibit. It is going to be just so much fun.
I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm having an art show, so this is very thrilling for me.
It's especially important because it's the first
I
one.
know. I can't believe it. I'm so excited about this new building, this new arts council.
Wonderful?
Yes.
Yeah, and I told her she had raised the bar really high, so all the ones that follow will have something to keep up to. Jean, I'm very impressed.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate it.
Really like it.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that we're going to be having you in our brand new space.
Well, thank you. I'm proud to be part of it.
Yeah. So
and thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
It's very much appreciated.
And you've been part of the gallery volunteer team that has been working for the last year.
Right. Not as much as I wanted to because we've come and gone and that kind of thing. But
she's an example, too, of a lot of folks. There's a team of, I would hazard a guess of saying there are about 30 gallery volunteers, which are the folks that help us keep the gift shop and the galleries going. But then on top of that, we also have a whole pile of other volunteers that are coming in and painting and doing various, renovations or sanding or weeding the garden or whatever they're doing, mowing the grass. All these things are happening, and it's a constant flow of people just coming through and doing really cool stuff. And I don't think the energy level is going to stop when the building's fixed.
It can't.
I don't think it will. Because then it's going to be all of you coming and going in and out of these classes, enjoying these exhibits, enjoying all kinds of activities, buying in the gift shop, coming to concerts, doing all kinds of cool things. So please be a part of it. You don't want to miss being a part of the Blue Ridge Art Space, located at the corner of Shadow Line and State Farm at 377 Shadow Line Drive. If you don't know how to find us, look on our website, watauga-arts.org, for this and so much more.
The Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.